Okay, here are the model solutions to the end of year exam. Question 1, define the term algorithm. An algorithm is a sequence of steps to solve a task. A sequence of steps to solve a task. What is a flowchart? That is a diagram of an algorithm. And all these definitions were in the test questions that I gave you. What are the following flowchart symbols? This rectangle is either an assignment, where you assign a variable a value, or it's a process. In general, it's a process, and an assignment is a type of process. Parallelogram is a input or output. In other words, input information is going in and information is going out, being printed out. This is a decision. Remember, you get decisions based on the expression inside here. So you might say, is it raining? That's a decision. And here we might have yes and no coming out. So this is a decision. And the final one is a sort of an oval shape. You can see the rounded corners here. So these are starts and stop. Okay, so the next thing is we've got to transcribe this simple program into a flowchart. And the first thing, as I said to you in the lesson, the best thing to do is to put a start and an end in. You'll get a mark straight away. And a couple of you did that. You listened and you would have got a mark, even if you don't know anything else. Now the next thing we need to do is to just do line number 1. Line number 1 is assigning the value num to 3, and that's an assignment, which is a rectangle. So here we set num is 3. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to start x, this for loop. Now a for loop is an iteration where we go round in a loop, and we're going to do this multiple times, where x starts at 1 and ends at 1 less than this. Okay, so in other words, num minus 1. So it's going to begin at 1. So we're going to start off at x equals 1. So we're going to have an assignment where we've got x equals 1. And then we're going to have a decision about when we finish this loop. And that decision is when x becomes equal to num, when x has got to the end of this range, then we're going to exit. Okay, so if x has become num, then so we say yes, then we're at that point we can end. Okay, now if it isn't, what we do next is, so this is no. What we need to do is to output the value. So this is, we're outputting the value. So that's an output, which is a parallelogram. We're outputting the value of x times num. And then we're adding 1 more to x. So x starts at 1, then it will go to 2, 3, 4, all the way up to whatever the value of num is, and it would be num minus 1. So the last one will be num minus 1. So in here we're going to need to increase the value of x. So x becomes what it was before, which is x plus 1. Okay, and then we go back into here. Let's add our flow lines, add our arrows in here, make sure we add those. Okay, so we go round this loop. This is called a loop, this thing here, where we're going round and round and round, and we keep doing that. Oops, let me just undo that. Okay, and we already had an end, so let's get rid of that end there. Okay, next question. It says we've got some code where we're inputting the value of p, I, and a, and they're all integers, and we need to output. Now output is a print statement, so these two go together, and it says p is 1,000, and I is 2, and a is 12. So the first thing that we need to do is to calculate s. So we've got p, which is 1,000, plus, and then we've got I, which is 2, and then multiplied by 100. So that's 1,000 plus 200, which is 1200. So it says if A, which is 12, is less than or equal to 10. Well, it isn't, and therefore we don't do this code, and therefore we print the sale price is, and then we concatenate, that's what that makes S, that is there, and then we take our value of S, which is 1200, and we output that. Okay, now P, this time P is 5,000. I can get OneNote to actually erase this stuff, which it doesn't seem to want to do for some reason. Okay. No, come on. It won't erase that, just ignore that for now. Okay, so now P is 5,000, so here we've got 5,000 plus, and I is 3, so 3 times 100, so that's 5,300. And now this time A is less than or equal to 10, so that's true, so we need to add S to S. So that's going to double the price of S, so we're going to get 5,300 multiplied by 2, which is 10,600. So it will say the sale price is $10,600. Now the next one, P is 8,000, so we're going to have 8,000. So here this is going to be 8,000 plus I, which is 0, so we're not going to add anything, so it's going to be 8,000, and A is 5, so it will double the 8,000 to 16,000. So here it's going to say sale price is 16,000. Suggest improve variable names. Well, these, as you can see in these comments here, P is going to be the price. Now there need to be valid variable names. I is, if you look at it, it's basically the improvements made. This I is for this improvements made. Now remember, we can't have spaces in variables, so I'm going to put an underscore. A is clearly the age of the bicycle, or bicycle age, age of bicycle, something like that. And S is clearly the sale price. Next question. So now we need to evaluate these things here. We did quite a lot of these during the year. Brackets first. So this is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Brackets first. 8 minus 5 is 3. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. Now remember, this is 3 over 2. Mathematically is correct, but this is Python. So it says in Python. So that's going to be a floating point number, 1.2. Right, now the percentage is the remainder. Okay, so we've got 11% 6, which is the remainder when we divide 11 by 6. So if we divide 11 by 6, we have a remainder of 5. So the answer is 5. These double slashes is integer division. In other words, we divide but ignore the decimal part. So this is 10 divided by 9, ignoring it's 1 point something, but we ignore the point something because of integer division. So the answer here is 1. Again, we've got the remainder here. So this is a 21% 7. Now 7 goes exactly into 21 3 times, and therefore there is 0 remainder. Now this is standard division, so we've got 5 divided by 3, which is 1 and 2/3, which is in Python would be 1.66666666, and eventually it might end up with a 7 or something like that. So basically at least 1.66, but something like that. Okay, brackets first. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. Brackets first. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 times 4 is 28. Now division. sorry, we'd do the brackets first. 1 times 2 is 2, and we get 8 divided by 2. Now this is the trick. Division always gives you a float in Python. So 8 divided by 2 is 4.0 minus 2, which is 2.0. A lot of you slipped up there and thought it was an integer, and it's not because of that division. Okay, so now we need to bracket these brackets first. That's 3. So we get 3 times 3, which is 9. So we get 10% 9, which is the remainder when you divide 9 into 10, which is 1. Now our logic gates, this is a NOT gate. Now remember, NOT has a single input. This looks like a D and D. Remember I told you how to remember that? And gate. And this is an OR gate. Remember that O curve there looks like the O of an OR. Okay, so a NOT gate takes in zeros and outputs a 1, and takes in 1 and outputs a 0. So that's what this does. Takes in a 1, outputs a 0. An AND gate only outputs 1 if both inputs are 1. So this at the bottom is a 1 because both inputs are 1. Otherwise we're going to get zeros. And an OR gate means either input is a 1 and you get an output of a 1. So neither input here is a 1, so we get a 0. Here we get, are any of these is 1? Yes they are. Are any of these a 1? Yes they are. Are any of these a 1? Yes they are. Okay, now we've got to decide whether these are true or false. Is 5 greater than 8? No. Is the string A the same as the string B? No. Is 4 less than 6? Well, that's true. And is 7 not equal to 2? Well, 7 is not equal to 2, so that's true. And true is true. So let's do a 10 greater than 3. Well, that's true. 7 less than or equal to 7, that's true. True is true, so this thing here is true. And is 3 equal to 4? That's false. But we've got an OR, so we only need either of these inputs to be true, and we do. We have this T here, that's true, so this is also true. Okay, 1 greater than or equal to 4, that's false. This is clearly false. So not false, well, so that makes that true. And 3 less than 5, well, 3 is less than 5 is true, but this not true is false. So true and false is false because both inputs to an AND gate have to be true. So this is false. Okay, next one. This is A or B. This is for working. We get a mark for each one of these, some good marks to be had here. So we're doing the OR of these to start with, which basically involves saying, is either of those A or B a 1? No, they're not there. They're not there. Yes, they are here. That one's a 1. This one's a 1 here, so that's fine. Yes, there's a 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. And P is the AND of C, because C is going into this AND gate here. Okay, so that's a C there, and then this is our A or B going in here. Okay, so we need to do the AND of these two columns here. These two columns, we need to AND these together, which means the output is 1 only if both of these are 1. Both of these are not 1, both of these are not 1, not 1, no, no, but yes, yes, and yes. I get a mark for each of those, so that's good available marks there. Write a program that will keep asking, and keep asking involves a loop, a indefinite loop, which is a while loop. In other words, you don't know when it's going to end. Between 1 and 10, entering a suitable error message if they do not enter a, I should say, number between 1 and 10. So we're going to have a while loop. So we're going to say, let's have a Boolean variable called valid, which decides whether the input that they've put in is valid or not. And it's going to start off as being false. And we're going to say, we want to keep going, while not valid. Okay, so while the number is not valid, now we're going to have some indented code here. We're going to ask the user to input that a number, and to do that we have something like number equals int input. That's where we're going to have our input there, and we could put a prompt in here like input a number 1 to 10, something like that, and then we're going to determine whether or not valid is true or not. So valid is true if, so we're going to say valid is becomes assigned to whether or not the number is between 1 and 10. So 1 less than or equal to number less than or equal to 10. Okay, and if it's not, it will go round this loop, keep going round and round around this loop. And then, but we need to say if the number is not valid, so if not valid, we're going to print a message to say that is not a valid number. Okay, question 12. It says we've got membership to a gym is £45 a month, so that's the sort of standard charge, and we've got to figure out what the actual cost will be for somebody for a particular age. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say something like cost is £45. So it's going to start off at 45, and then we're going to get the user's age. So we're going to say age equals, let's say input, so we need an integer, don't we? So int input age, what's your age? And then we're going to decide whether or not the age is between 13 and 15. So we're going to say if you're under 12, so if age is under, which is less than 12, then our cost becomes 0. Otherwise, else, elif, remember, elif, if the cost is between 13 and 15, so we can do 13 less than or equal to cost less than or equal to 15, then the cost will become cost times, and it's 30% discount, so we're only paying 70% of our cost, so we multiply by 0.7. And if the cost is between 16 and 17, so 16 less than or equal to cost less than or equal to 17, then we're only going to pay 80%. We're going to pay 80% of the cost. We're going to multiply our cost by 0.8. Members who are age 50 and over receive a 40%. So we're going to say elif if the age, if your sorry, beg your pardon. These should be age here. Beg your pardon. If the age is between 16, 17 or 13 and 15. Beg your pardon, there's a mistake there. And if the age is greater and equal to 50, that's 50 or over, then you're going to get a 40% discount, so you only pay 60%. Otherwise, they're going to pay the whole cost. Okay? Okay, at the moment that's all I'd like you to go through. We'll do the rest in another video.